Color eyes. There's blue eyes and there's brown eyes. And this, of course, is a blue eye. If you notice, there's not a whole lot of markings in this eye. This is usually what we see in a younger child. But as we get older, things change. We're going to go over some of those. But if you look at the texture of this eye, you can see strings in the eye. That is the fibers in the eye. That's how you know it's a blue eye. This eye, if you look at it, it has no strings. It looks almost like velvet. Sometimes blue eyes or brown eyes are actually blue eyes, and this is an example. Here is a brown eye, and here is a blue eye that's just very toxic from the liver. If you notice, the texture of this eye looks a little bit different than the texture in this eye. You can see the strings in this eye. So what we're going to look at is anything that looks different than this or this is a symptom. Okay. This eye shows many, many things. And I'm just going to go over like I'm doing a consultation for someone coming. If this person would walk in, which they did at one time, into my place, I would tell them they have a lot of stress rings. If you look at these things, they look like ripples of water. They're all over the place. These rings indicate that this person has a lot of stress in their body. We all have stress in our lives, but sometimes it starts affecting our health, and that's what it shows up in the eye, is like this. Another thing is you should have something that's ropey around the eye. It looks like something has been woven around the pupil. That's your nervous system. That's an indication of the coating that's around the nerve. Well, if you look at this person, you can see a little bit of it here and here, a little bit here, but most of it's gone. So this person's nervous system is very thin. This would be a person that a doctor would probably say, you know what, let's get you on some Prozac or on Wellbutrin or some kind of reuptake inhibitor, you know, neurotransmitter reuptake inhibitor. Well, what the hour shows us is the fact that this is thin enough, and then through herbs and nutrition, we can rebuild that. These nerve rings should fade, and then the person would feel like their nervous system is fine. They won't have stress or depression or OCD or anxiety, things like that. Another thing we notice in this eye is the fact that it's really dark around the pupil. If you look at your charts, that is the intestinal area. So we know that this person's intestines are more toxic than the rest of the body. Okay, let's go into this one. Now, another thing you can show in your eye is your constitution. That's your genetic strength. You know, you've heard of some people say that, you know, my Uncle Fred died at 99 years old, and he died killing a bear with bare hands or something like that. I mean, these really, really strong people that live to be strong and healthy forever, but they might have caroused and done some things that weren't so good. And then other people that live a half-decent, healthy life may not have longevity. Some of that is your constitution. So if you look at these strings right here, how straight they are and how finely knit they are, then you look at the strings and the fibers of this eye, they're squigglier. So if this was a piece of wood, you would know this wood was not as strong as this wood. Now that doesn't mean that someone who has a weak constitution cannot live to be 90 years old. But when he's 90 years old, he probably can't go out and kill a bear. And he needs to take care of his health. We're hearing a lot of things in the newspapers and in the news now that, oh, they found that there's a genetic weakness for this or genetic weakness for that. You can see genetic weaknesses in the eye. It's good to know what your weak links are. This ring, if you notice, like here's the autonomic nerve ring, so that's something different. That's the ropey thing. It should be out here. But if you notice, there's like a band around the stomach. Well, we know that this person is not digesting properly. To my knowledge, there is no medical test that you can go and the doctor say, you know what, you're just not digesting right. but in the eye it shows that. This is poor digestion ring. The orangish halo around here, some people call a simulation ring, but that indicates that the lining of your stomach is thinner than it should be. And then if you look at your charts, this person's eye, let's see, this is a right eye. So this person has a weakness on their bronchioles. See this little football-shaped thing here? They have a weakness in their bronchioles. They may not have asthma, but it's still a weaker part of their body. So when they get cold, things will start settling there. Also here in the bronchus, there's a weakness in this area. Possibly gallbladder, maybe a little bit weakness on the liver. The adrenals. Adrenal weaknesses is very hard to find in the medical profession, but it shows up in the iris of the eye. On the chart, the little a is the adrenals. Now here's another true brown eye. Again, look, no strings, just graininess. It's really grainy. But this person has some things going on. For one thing, there's a whitish haze here. That indicates that there's some buildup in their arteries. So this person has some plaque. You can see some plaque without necessarily getting a catheterization done. It doesn't tell us exactly what particular arteries have it, but we know that it's in the head area and then around the chest area somewhere there's some plaque being built up. Also, the fact that this color looks like it's bleeding onto the white indicates poor circulation to the brain. So this person might have a little bit of, they bend over and get up, they might get a little bit lightheaded, a little bit dizzy, maybe having a hard time remembering things. These white globs can indicate catarrh or old mucus and inflammation. Now this is a dear friend of mine's eyes. She has terrible health. A registered nurse. Her bowels are extremely toxic. Her autonomic nerve wreath is like this. So you can see that the toxins of the bowel has passed it. This is leaky gut syndrome. The fact that this pupil is so hazy instead of black indicates that she has an imbalance between calcium and magnesium, possibly a deficiency. The yellow in her eyes means that she has too much uric acid. The brown dots come from the liver. This weakness right here, it's hard to see, but it's very subtle. She has a genetic weakness on her thyroid. And if you look on your chart on this side, because this is a right eye, by the way, there's a genetic weakness, or not genetic weakness, there's a little weakness on the breast tissue. So she needs to look out for the health of her breast. Other things to show in the eye. The orange indicates chromium deficiency. It actually means that there's insulin that's not in the cells of the body. That's kind of just where it's not supposed to be. Some people might call it insulin resistance, syndrome X. They have all kind of names for it. But it means that you don't have enough chromium for the insulin to take sugar into the cells of the muscles and bones into the brain. These people usually crave sweets. The white dots around here indicates clogged lymph nodes. Not cancer, probably not large enough for the doctors to pick up on by touching it, but they're starting to get clogged. The white, murky white stuff indicates too much acid. So this person's pH is off. If your pH is off, it can contribute to arthritis, acid reflux, things like that. Now, I was asked how I got into this. I got into this because my health was really trashed. I went to a doctor, and all that was wrong with me is the milk wouldn't drop in my breast. So a doctor, and this was like, well, I'll put it this way, my son's 34 years old, and he was a year old at the time, so 33 years ago. Doctor gave me the wrong medicine. When he did, I ended up with kidney problems, heart problems. He killed my thyroid. And this was after I had been in the herbs for about a year. This is what my eye looked like. This was my heart muscle. This is a left eye. This is my heart muscle. The yellow from the kidney. So on. But just my heart alone, I had congestive heart failure. That's probably one of the main reasons why I was really wowed by this. My heart was so bad that the doctors basically said, this was on December 26, 1989, they said, well, you need an emergency hysterectomy. But your heart, you have congestive heart failure, your heart's so bad, you're probably not going to be able to make it through the operation. Your kidneys are shutting down, and your heart is so bad we can't really give you any medicine for it. You need a heart transplant, and the doctor kindly said, but you're basically a waste of an organ because everything's just shutting down. Your health is so bad. And indeed, my heart was bad. If I would walk the length of 2 rooms, sometimes I'd have to put nitroglycerin under my tongue. Well, I'm a lot older now. It's been 20-some years since I've been doing this. And although I'm not in perfect health, you can tell my bowel is much cleaner because this is a picture of my iris probably about 5 years ago. I don't have a recent one. But you can see the difference in the heart muscle alone. That heart that the doctor said there was absolutely nothing they can do for it. If you look, there's a little bit of a weakness here, but it's not anything near what it used to be. I still have a clogged lymph node next to it for some reason. I don't work on that as much, but my lymph nodes are cleaner. The toxic troughs are cleaner. So I really like taking pictures of eyes. I love iridology because it tells you what's happened to you from birth till now. And as you get healthier, it gives you a visual record of that. It takes a long time. This took maybe 15 years from this eye to this eye. It doesn't happen overnight. So, unless you guys have specific questions, that's kind of what some of a little taste of what can show in the eye. There's so many different things we couldn't possibly cover it, but I think it'd be to your advantage to get an iridologist to look at your eye.